Guys, being lean is actually so fucking simple. Let's be real. In 2026, we aren't going for, a fluffy look anymore these days. If you're fat or obese or overweight, then the first thing you got to do is get lean. And I'm going to explain that in this video. And it's really not complicated to get lean. I don't want to say hard. I think it is hard to get lean, but it's certainly not something that's incomprehensible. So let's get right into topic number one, and that's going to be just losing body fat. So, how do we lose body fat? Why do we want to lose body fat? Well, if we hold, especially upwards of 15% body fat, I always like to say 15 because that's really when you can start to see the cuts and you become a little more aesthetic, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And physically, even your health could be in trouble depending on how much higher it is than 15%. So we want to make sure that we are really focusing on losing the body fat percentage and maintaining the muscle. We have to maintain the muscle. So the way to do that, consistently strength train. I recommend at least 3 to 4 times a week. Personally, myself, I go between 5 and 6 times. I do a push-pull leg split with a rest day after each. So like I'll do the push to pull the legs, then I'll rest, and then I'll do push-pull legs again and rest. And that would kind of be considered a block, I guess, if you want to call it that. So it's technically an 8-day block. You could do something like that. You could do a full body 3 times a week. You could even do a bro split. There's a lot of different ways you can work out. That's not really the point. The point is that you want to make sure that you are just doing some sort of strength training and you're doing it consistently. If you're consistently strength training, then you're going to be able to, at the same time, as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to be able to lose the body fat. So let's talk a little bit about the calorie deficit. So when we're in a caloric deficit, I like to aim for about 750, somewhere around there. You can do 1,000 if you feel like you can kind of maintain that. Personally, I wouldn't recommend going lower than 1,000. You can also go a little bit less than 700, 750. You could even do like 500 if I don't know. So it just kind of depends on your preference. You're going to lose the fat as long as you track accurately. The problem with going too low is if you don't track accurately and you make mistakes, then what you're going to find is that you might plateau, but it's essentially you just eating too many calories that you're not tracking properly. So that's why 750, if you go in a 750 deficit, you really have to overeat a lot to blow over that sort of number of deficit that you're in. So track everything you eat. I'm a little bit weird. I write everything down. I write out what I eat, and then once I've written it out, then I write down the macros that I got for it, and I keep myself accountable that way. A lot of people just use apps. It's sort of up to you, but you just have to make sure you're tracking. If you don't track your food and you're trying to lose body fat, you have a body fat or like a body fat percentage goal you want to hit, it's going to be nearly impossible to do that if you have no idea what's going on with your food. And another point to add to this, we need to be cooking our food, guys. Look, if you're going out to eat, I'm not saying you can't eat out and lose fat, because you totally can, but it's going to be way, way more difficult to do that than if you were to just go and cook yourself, 2 chicken breasts for however long you're going to let those last. Making your own food is such an advantage in this game of losing body fat because it gives you complete control over the oils, over the portion size, and it eliminates variables that, at a restaurant you might have to deal with. Okay, let's say, for example, I love Chipotle. So I go to Chipotle and I want to get some chicken on my bowl or whatever. Well, they don't weigh out the chicken on the bowl. They just give you one serving, and whatever a serving is, what you get. So it could be more than because they say a serving size there is, I think, 32 grams of protein. It could be more than that. It could be less than that. You don't really know exactly what you're getting. But if you were to cook that at home, then you can just weigh it on your scale and then you're good to go. So again, we got to make sure that we're weighing the food. And again, once you weigh things out for the first couple of times, or I guess I shouldn't say that, but because with chicken, you kind of always have to weigh it. But if you meal prep, you can weigh it all at once and then split it into portions, and then your meal prep's already ready. So you literally just throw it in the microwave and you're good to go. That's what I like to do. I do that with beef patties too. I'll weigh out the beef beforehand and I know how much I'm getting exactly. And then throughout the week, I'll just eat it. It's really simple. The just cooking your food, learning how to cook. Okay, it may not taste as good as a restaurant. I actually think home cooked food tastes better than most restaurants, but I live in a place where there's not a lot of good food to eat if you go to eat out. So I understand it's going to be more difficult if you live in a big city to avoid the DoorDash, stuff like that. But when I'm talking about getting lean and, how simple it is, this is what I mean, right? We're not going to complicate it by going out. We're not going to get DoorDash. We're not going to get Uber Eats. We're not going to go to Applebee's and plow through like 4 different appetizers and an entree and then, oh, I might feel like I'm going to get dessert today. No, 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 no. We're not doing any of that crap. So we're going to cut down to the basics, cook food, prep it out for the week, and it's so much simpler. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money, and you're going to know exactly what you're eating. So there's absolutely no, I wanted to say benefit, whatever the opposite of a benefit is. There's no downside. That's the word I wanted. No downside to cooking and prepping all your food. So that's going to be key. Prepping your food, weighing it, and then making sure you're in the deficit by doing those things. The other thing we want to do, let's talk a little bit about steps and cardio. So if you are somewhat active, let's say you start your cut and you're getting about 4,000 to 5,000 steps a day. Now, if you're doing that, you're going to have to make sure that you compensate by not getting, 10 to 15K steps a day. If you really don't want to get that many steps, you're only going to get 5,000. Just make sure you're keeping your calories, a little bit lower than because what ends up happening, it's either you have to lower your calories to meet the need of the deficit or you increase your cardio. So I personally, for myself, I try to get I get 8 to 10,000 steps every day. And sometimes it'll be more, sometimes it'll be 12, 13, 14. But I don't dip under that 8,000 mark just because I know that's going to burn quite a bit more calories than if I were just sitting at like 2 to 3K steps. And a lot of guys don't really think about how much just moving around is going to increase your activity, increase your calories burned. So we want to make sure that we are, helping ourselves out a little bit. We can have a little bit more to eat if we increase the calories a little bit. And I'm not saying you guys got to go and do some crazy cardio circuit or some HIIT exercise circuit or even just go for like a 5-mile run. No, no, no. All I'm saying is, all I do is I just walk. You can walk. Sometimes it'll be incline walk. You can literally just walk on a flat surface around your neighborhood. Some days I'll even go up and down the driveway. It really isn't complicated, guys. Fat loss is just, it's pretty much, you have to hit a certain number with calories and you hit that number and you train hard. And then of course you hit your protein goal as well. And then you're good to go. And a lot of people say, oh, well, I got to be in a fat burning zone. Or, I'll also hear like, oh, well, I ate too many carbs today. And so therefore I'm going to gain weight. That's not how this works. Some days you're going to want to eat more carbs if you're doing some sort of carb cycling or maybe like a refeed kind of day, especially if you're feeling weaker in the gym or if you have a tough day of lifts. Let's say you're hitting a leg day and normally you're eating like 1,800 calories. You're deep into the cut, whatever. And you're like, you know what, today I need an extra 200 to 300 200 to 300 calories. So I'll have some more carbs. I'll have some more like potatoes or cream of rice, maybe some oats, whatever it may be for your carb source, and you'll be good to go. But the way that people make weight loss, fat loss complicated is they add all these variables and all this stuff, all this crap, and there's a lot of just misconceptions about what it really is. And that's why I'm trying to get across the point. I've kind of, jumped all over the place a little bit, but it's really just as long as you know what number of calories you need to hit to be in the desired deficit, then you're going to be good to go. And if you strength train and you hit your protein goals, you're going to look amazing when you finish your cut. And some guys are only going to need a few weeks to cut. Some guys are going to need months to cut. It just really depends. The first time that I cut, it took a while because I was probably about 30% body fat. And, it was really probably like a 20-something week process. I don't exactly remember, probably like 22, 23 week process. And I could have done it better, but I made sure that I was pretty steady in what I was doing and I didn't deviate from my plan and I got to my desired outcome. So if you want to see the results, just keep the input simple and practice them daily and you're going to get there. And guys, if you want help, I know it can be a little bit complicated and you're hearing a lot of different opinions about it. If you guys want help, click the link down below, book a call, and let's see if we're a good fit to work together. And you may be, you may not be. And either way, you're going to walk away with hopefully some valuable information about, where you're at and what you want to be doing. And that's like the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is, we'll get you on board and we'll get you to your goals. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you all in the next one.